I think it looks pretty clean. But without further ado, let's get started. All right. So today we are going over Pioneers. They are the OCE second seed coming out of the Winter Major. They recently just signed a 15-year-old in Hunter. He's going to be the youngest player at this LAN. And of course they're playing with Banana Head and Scrub, who last season, or in RLCS X, Banana Head, Scrub, and Super Lucky on Ground Zero, they all made their first grand final and I believe their second ever regional together as a team. And then they made a bunch of other second places. They made the Winter Major last season. And then ever since then, they've been a team that's been consistently making majors. Now, last major, they did not do really well. They got knocked out. Yeah, they got knocked out 0-9 last major, which is definitely not something we like to see. KCP are a team that people consider able to make top 8, and then last time they ended up getting completely knocked out. We see right here they got beat by the club 5-2, 4-0, 2-0. You could tell in this series they weren't looking confident. Against FaZe, they got one overtime. It was a lot closer versus FaZe, but still they were not playing with confidence. And then good power play against. Yeah, they swept them. They beat club. They lost to V1, barely lost to Liquid. Should have been a reverse sweep in my opinion. But here we go. KCP, they got annihilated by Quadrant here. Yeah, KCP just didn't look confident last event. It was very sad to see, but they replaced Super Lucky with Hunter, which some people say that replacing Super Lucky with Hunter is a bad idea. They say a lot of people might consider Super Lucky as being one of the better players out of the old roster. But instead, they stayed with Scrub and Banana Head. They picked up 15-year-old Hunter. And for those of you who don't know Hunter, he does have LAN experience. He played at the first OCE LAN since RLCS Season 8 for the regionals. And this isn't run by RLCS at all. It's run by RLOCE. And if you don't know RLOCE Oceania, they are a really talented community organization that runs a lot of different events for the OCE region. And they actually ran their first LAN in partnership with JBL Quantum. And this was their team. Sicky, of course, he recently just retired. But he, of course, made a bunch of world championships. Mock, he's an up-and-coming player, very mechanical. And Hunter, of course, 15 years old. He's 15 years old. He played in his very first RLCS event, or RLCS level event. They came through the closed qualifier. And if we look, hopefully the closed qualifier loads here. Yeah, there we go. So they're on the Lake Show. They ended up going through. They had a forfeit win against Cowabunga. They swept No Name, which all these players have made main events before. Or at least I know Pagsy has for sure. And I think Pagsy's on my friends list, actually. And then they played against Power. And they ended up almost getting perfect swept, but they had one overtime. And then they ended up making the event. And here we go, main event. This is actually a LAN they went to. They did end up losing 2 placeholders. But, of course, Fiber is now on Ground Zero. A top team with Kaka and Super Lucky. So, him getting knocked out with Mock and Sicky is honestly not that bad of an event. But just so y'all know, Hunter, he has some experience. He also has LAN experience. And he did really well, if I remember correctly, on the LAN that he did participate in. So, you can't write Hunter out. But here we go. We're going to be going over KCP today. And for those of you all who are new to the stream, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be we look at one team a day in a deep dive analysis and rewrite down individual mistakes for players. And then we look at the strengths of the team. And then we look at the weaknesses of the team. So essentially, just to give you an example, we looked at G2 Esports. We came up with Chicago. He has some issues knowing, and he tends to go down the pitch when he should be covering another position. Sometimes if a pass does not go mid, aka a teammate solo plays, he doesn't know where to go sometimes. So that's an individual thing that he has issues with. That kind of makes him useless to the play. For JNAPS, he actually has some individual smart issues where when it comes to forcing high, sometimes he goes too early, or sometimes he doesn't force high at all. He forces low, which causes some issues on defense. And for a pro, he misses some very basic mechanical touches. And overall, some issues over that. When under pressure, plays ball over his, and then sometimes he plays ball over his job on occasion. So instead of, for an example here, instead of applying off-ball pressure, he just waits for the ball when he's in front of it, meaning there's no off-ball pressure, giving the other team a lot of time to think. And Atomic didn't really have any mistakes. I was kind of grasping at straws for Atomic, but sometimes he did try to cut into the play too early. aka he cut off his teammates, which slowed down his teammates' rotation. So that's just an example. And for example, for G2, their strengths, their rotations are some of the best rotations in the game, and they really know how to recognize if a midfield's open for passes. They're really great at passes, and their rotations are really solid. Where G2 actually suffer is individually. Sometimes they're not aware of where each other are, and sometimes they make touches that make it harder on G2. But for example, so essentially we took all these notes. We found out G2 as a team, their rotations, some of the best in the game. But individually, the mechanics on outside maybe Atomic, individually, G2 aren't as good as other teams. But that's what we ended up being able to decide about G2. And Falcons were actually the complete opposite in that respect. They still had really good rotations, like some of the best rotations in the world. But instead of having individual issues like G2, they have the individual stuff on lockdown, but they had team issues. They were very one-dimensional when they play. So that's what we're going to be looking at for Pioneers today. Scrub, Banana Head, Hunter. We're going to be looking at their strengths and weaknesses, as well as just as individuals. And just to give you guys, so you guys can try to follow along with me, we're going to keep a couple things in mind whenever I'm analyzing Rocket League. There's two things that we need to keep in mind. One is possession, and the other is making sure we're covering the 3 necessary areas of the pitch. Here we go. So possession and the 3 necessary areas of the pitch. So what are these two things? Well, possession is very, very basic, right? In order to score in Rocket League, you kind of need the ball, right? So there's no reason to ever give away possession to just try and get it back to score a goal. It just makes far more logical sense to keep the ball on you the entire time. The only objection some people have to this is, well, what if I have 0 boost? Well, if you have the ball and you have 0 boost, it doesn't, and they're coming at you with more momentum, right? So you can lose a 50 back to your teammate to keep possession, right? And what if your teammates don't have boost? Well, that means they failed to grab boost while trying to get into position. So that's not your problem. That's your teammates failing to do their job, right? So that's why possession is a necessary part of the game. We're going to be looking at how KCP and all these other teams managed to accomplish possession. And now you're also probably wondering the 3 necessary areas of the pitch. What are the 3 necessary areas of the pitch? Oh, we can label them off. 1, 2, 3. And what they are is we need someone to cover the ball. So we need someone on the ball, offense or defense-wise. We need someone covering support. So aka we need somebody supporting the person on the ball. And the last thing we need to be covered is something called off-ball pressure. What is off-ball pressure? Boost steals, bumps and demos, maybe just being a blindside pass option for your team, or on the defensive end of things, watching middle on defense, right? Those are all ways of being useful off the ball, aka applying off-ball pressure. So these are the 3 areas of the pitch that we're going to be making sure all the teams cover. Someone on the ball, someone on support, and someone applying off-ball pressure. And the cool thing about these definitions is they work on offense, defense, transition, counter, it works no matter what in the field. So we can actually assign each one of these areas of the field to a position. So first man's going to be the ball guy, second man's support guy, and third man is off-ball pressure guy. And it's up to me. And remember, these are all necessary parts of Rocket League. We need to ensure they are all covered no matter what. So when we're looking at ball guy, support guy, and off-ball pressure guy, some teams, for example, Crew Esports, their issue was normally with support. The player didn't know how to support properly and effectively. For Team Liquid, they didn't know how to adapt, because looking at this, there's priority to this, right? You want someone on the ball. Next most important thing, someone supporting. Third most important thing, off-ball pressure. All three of them are still necessary areas of the pitch, but of course, just because they're all necessary doesn't mean there isn't a priority, right? If no one's challenging the ball, someone needs to be on the ball. If someone's on the ball but no one's supporting him, someone needs to be supporting him. And if these jobs are already covered, you don't need to rush back. Apply off-ball pressure to the best of your ability. So, and for example, Team Liquid, they had a really hard time adapting to say if no one's filling in support, they would still try kind of do their own thing sometimes, and it made their defense a little bit inconsistent on occasion. And a Chronic himself just didn't know how to play support for the most part. A Tao and Oski were actually playing support really well. But there we go. That's going to be what we're going to be looking for in today. And just to give y'all, so I made initial predictions before we analyzed any teams based off what I currently knew about the teams. And we're just kind of have a fun game to see if we change our mind when we're done. So far, at G2, Crew, and Team Liquid, so far, I think my predictions are spot on with their weaknesses. So now we're going to be looking at KCP. KCP, I have them losing to Gen G. I have them losing to Oxygen. And I have them barely beating Complexity. So I end up having a three-way tie down here. Complexity still end up getting knocked out. But I do have them winning a series. But just the way it ends up, Gen G end up on top. Oxygen, Complexity make it through. So of course, we don't have a rest of the bracket. So their group is definitely one. I definitely think Group D is the group of death. And for those of you already knocking out, and I think some people are knocking out teams like Crew, Dignitas, and Pioneers. Some people are knocking them out really early. Like, I have Crew beating G1 with how the schedule goes. And for me, I have Dignitas beating Vitality with how the schedule goes. And down here, with how the schedule goes, Complexity, if they win this, I believe, they are first in their groups. No, they're second in their group, so never mind. Excuse me, so it's just Complexity that are playing for that second seed. Because if we look, if Complexity win, they play Dignitas, which is way easier than them having to play Falcons. I still have Complexity beating Falcons, but still, very interesting situation. But without further ado, I think it's time to analyze Pioneers. So unlike MENA, South America and OCE, their group stages are actually stuff that you can follow and see issues in. And we're going to be looking at KCP here in the Winter Invitational up first. So just to give you guys some context, and except for MENA, we have looked at one group stage match to try and find out the basic issues that everybody has. So KCP, they end up going to Game 5 against the Spurkies. Now, if you guys don't watch OCE, these three players are very solid players, but individually and as a team, Pioneer should be winning that every day of the week. So luckily, going into this group stage will give us a good idea of what their baseline mistakes are. And then, normally as a tournament progresses, mistakes only get bigger, correct? So that's what we're going to be looking at. That's what we're going to be looking at really going into this, is KCP, how do their mistakes get bigger? And how do overall they do? So we're going to start here with the Spurkies. We should probably look at a game where they lost. So 3-2, game 2 versus the Spurkies. Here we go. And we're going to have to actually manually search them up. Come on. We all love Basnick, the OCE Wikipedia manager, but I wonder if maybe it's just he just didn't get the link to the ball chasing. So it looks like this is a... Where's the links to... Here we go. Finally, we found the OCE link. Main event. Groups. They're in Group B, I believe. Oh, they're split up differently than OCE. So it's round 1. Okay, round 1. And then... KCP versus the Spurkies. Game... I don't know how these things are sorted out. Where's KCP again? Versus Spurky. Game 2. Here we go. And what I like to do is I like to look at the stats. Just to give us a good idea of like what we could be missing here. So in terms of the demo side, oh my, yeah, KCP 0 demos, and I believe normally they actually have a good amount of demos, and they were actually dying a lot too. Specifically Hunter and Matt, so specifically Hunter is dying a lot, so that's something we have to keep in mind. And then let's look at the boost as a, here we go, average boost. Their average boost is relatively low, so Banana Head is actually at a level that most pros are at, but in this series at least, Scrub and Hunter, their average boost is actually very, very low, at least in this game. So that's something to keep in mind. And then in terms of big pads, Banana Head's definitely a pad player. Most of them are stolen. Scrub actually has a decent amount of stolen too, and he has the lowest big pads. Small pad Scrub has the most, so yeah, that's definitely makes it. I think KCP have definitely streamlined their rotations. But without further ado, let's get into this first game for KCP. Of course, we're going to look at the OCE MVP up first, I think, just to see, what are the biggest mistakes we see in the OCE MVP. So right off the bat, this is fantastic. For those of you guys who don't really see why this is fantastic, right off the bat, what do we see from KCP? We see immediately an off-ball pressure guy, a ball guy, and Scrub, he's a little bit out of the play, but it is just off the kickoff. He's going to grab this boost and fill in support behind his teammate here. That is what we really want to see from KCP off the bat. This is showing us right off the bat a good solid rotational structure from KCP. Here we go. As you can see, they fall in behind. Banana Head looks for the redirect. But here we go. Let's see how they end up rotating in this situation. So Hunter did look a little lost right here. I'm going to go to his POV just to see what's in his mind. Hunter gets the reset, flicks it over. He gets bumped. That's fine. So Banana Head's rotated out at this point. I think I see why Hunter may have rotated back here. So or thought about rotating back. So to keep in mind, everybody, we talked about how there's a priority to things, right? We want a ball guy, which Scrub's going to be the ball guy here. We want someone to fill in support, which is close behind facing forward. And we want someone applying off-ball pressure. So I think what Hunter thought here was that Banana Head was going to continue to grab a boost and maybe stay upfield here. And that's why Hunter feel like he was going to have to rotate back to fill in support, right? Because we need a ball guy and a support guy before off-ball pressure. But of course, if you can have all three, then you want all three. So I think what Hunter saw here was Scrub was going to be ball guy. And then he thought Banana Head was still going to go for a boost and turn upfield to continue to apply off-ball pressure. And then he would fill in second. But I think what ended up happening was Banana Head rotated out really quickly with the boost here to fill in support behind Scrub. So Hunter was kind of just stuck in the midfield here for a little bit. So a little bit of more of an experience issue, I think. Here we go. My PC is broken for 2 to 3 days, so my grind stopped, but I'm back now. Glad to hear it, Spod. We're looking at KCP right now from OCE. Hope you stick around and see if you can learn something about how to play at the high level, but here we go. But overall, I think rotationally, KCP are a very solid team. I think we can tell right off the bat the strengths of KCP. Rotationally, very solid structure. But weaknesses, adaptability to unorthodox situations. Tends to be lackluster. There we go. But I will say right here, we can still see Hunter here. He ends up reacting to where the ball's going. He doesn't know where this ball's going. We've been talking about this a lot on streams recently, knowing how to read the play rather than react to it. So for me, what I can notice here is Sour's coming at the ball at this angle. So we can tell the angle where the ball's going to get popped out. And then we look at the momentum, how fast he's going. And that's what will tell us where the ball ends up going and how fast it will go. So for me, Hunter should have been able to turn and face the play already here. And that should have been a free ball, an even more free ball for Hunter. As you see, since he ends up turning away from it, he doesn't react to where that ball's going. He ends up getting dusted to this ball. Now, luckily, he does recognize he has to rotate out and save his boost, but that does become an issue for KCP. So let's look at I want to look at Scrub here in the situation as well. So looking at Scrub, he's gonna Yeah, I think Scrub had a really good read on this. He knows the ball's going mid. Now he's going to fill in support. So it does seem like it's a Hunter thing. Reacting versus reading the play. Tends to react to where the ball is going instead of reading where it is going. This causes him to be slower to some balls. Slower to ball to some balls compared to opponents who read the play. So that's the first issue we're noticing from Hunter, but this is normal. And if we remember, if we look at all of Crew Esports actually had this issue. Where's the third in that play? Just wondering. I'll show you here in a second. And then so for example, Drufinho, Brad, and Drops, they actually all had an issue where they had a hard time retracing the play. And for Team Falcons, Ahmad actually had a really big issue. He tended to react to where the ball is going and actually caused a lot of goals. TRK is actually one of the best players I've seen at reading the play, where he saw where that ball was going like 4 seconds ahead and was already in position. So Ahmad's one of those issues, and then Atal actually has an issue with reacting to the play rather than reading it as well. But looking at, so your question was, where is the third in this play? I assume you mean in this situation? Where we were right here. Is that where you're asking the question? Or when are you asking right here, Gator? Yeah, okay. So in this situation, technically, Scrub's filling in first, Banana Head's filling in second. So that means, therefore, Hunter's filling in third. I think Hunter, like we talked about, Hunter had a hard time. He thought Banana Head was going to be third, and he would fill in second. But as you see, Banana Head rotated out really quickly in this situation. So Hunter is technically third. And the job of the third man is to apply off-ball pressure. So this boost is already gone. Plus, it makes no sense to turn 180 degrees to go for a bump or a boost or something. So if anything, Hunter should go for a demo here. And then if the boost is here, he can maybe go for the boost. But then he can apply some off-ball pressure by... And it's an idea of pressure by presence. Because if we look at the other team, for example, they're all going to be facing the ball on this side of the pitch, right? So if Hunter's over here, that's a blind side. That's what we call a blind side pass. So in this situation, Scrub's first, Banana Head's filling in second, and then, since these jobs are already being filled in, we need an off-ball pressure guy, and that would be Hunter. Now, Hunter, of course, he had a little bit of a misunderstanding of who was who in this situation. Of course, he's a very new player, so he still has to gain some experience, but overall, he is the third man in this situation. But let's keep watching. I want to go over to Scrub's POV here. Because if we see here, compared to if we look at Hunter, he did not know where this ball was going. Where does Banana go? How do you mean? Here we go. We can see from... Oh, Banana Head. Excuse me. Excuse me. I was like, where's the Banana go? Okay, Banana Head. That's what you mean. Okay, so going back to this POV again. Banana Head, as we can see, Banana Head ends up just rotating out pretty early here. Since the boost isn't there... If the boost was there, I think Banana Head would go for the boost. You know, you want to steal the boost when you can. But Banana Head is going to fill in behind first. So the whole idea about support, when you're supporting in Rocket League, you want to be supporting close behind your teammate facing the play. So in this situation, Banana Head's going to fill in behind Scrub. So there's 3 areas like we talked about. So for support, there's 3 ideas that I said for support. You want to be behind, you want to be close, and you want to be facing the play. And that's where Banana Head's going to here. So, of course, facing the play, I think, is the easiest idea for most people to understand. Because if you're facing backwards and your teammates say were to get a 50-50, lose it to you, or if the ball spilled out mid or anything like that, since you're backwards, you have to turn to face the ball, your opponents are just going to get to that ball before you. So, facing the play from being behind, so going behind your teammate, at least facing the play, makes sense to most people. But now the whole thing is, why do you support close and why do you support from behind? So a lot of people think, when they think Rocket League, they think Rocket League, and this is a very old style of rotation, but when people think Rocket League, they think that the support guy needs to go mid. And normally what this ends up, so I'm going to draw it on this side of the pitch here. So we have a first man, second man, and then a third man. So here we go. So we're gonna be blue team in this situation. So, of course, we talked about facing forward, but now we need to talk about why being close and why being behind. So most people think high-level rotations are done like this. You have somebody covering a 50, and you have someone covering the pass. Now, as we talked about before, there's 3 areas of the pitch that always need to be covered. We need someone on the ball, we need support covered, and then we need off-ball pressure covered. The main issue with having somebody instantly go mid, or having your support guy be mid, is he is only useful if what happens. If the ball goes directly to him. If you lose a 50, he was useless to the play, right? If you end up taking a solo play, he is still useless to the play. Maybe he can be useful later, but still he's only useful no matter where the guy with the ball is if he receives a pass. And you're like, oh, well, what if he can go for a demo if your teammate's solo playing? Then there's actually another issue that comes into play in the situation. If you go for a demo from this approach, you are going, there's an idea in Rocket League known as flow. And there is the flow of your team and the flow of your opponents. In Rocket League, you want to go onto offense, you're going to go into the flow of your opponents, right? So looking at our flow, we're going for this direction, and our opponents are going this direction, right? So at least in this situation, if we were in a line, it's 3 versus 3 in terms of our flow. It should be even, and then the only advantage is that we have the ball. Since we have the ball, we have the slight advantage, but it's 3 on 3. It's all individual. But if our second man is here, and he's going to go for a demo in this situation, essentially what we're doing is we have 4 players going in this direction and 2 going in this direction. And just like osmosis in biology or chemistry or anything like that, there's more pressure over here, less over here. So naturally, that ball is most likely going to pop out here. That's, of course, more of an analogy to give you an idea. But looking at it like this, if we're trying to apply off-ball pressure and we're going in the same direction as our team, as the opponents, they're going to way more easily avoid those demos. And at the same time, we're also going into the flow of our teammates. So not only are we getting in the way, but it's also the idea of, most likely, if the ball's going to go anywhere, it's going to go to the path of least resistance, which, since there's 2 players versus 4, the ball's most likely going to get hit out anyway. So literally, if the second man goes mid, he only becomes useful if it's a pass. And we have the issue where there's no off-ball pressure. And that is solved by going behind your teammate when supporting. So here we talk about facing forward, but when we're behind, we solve these issues because now, since we have someone behind, the third man's able to rotate out, applying off-ball pressure. So we have ball guy, support guy, and off-ball pressure covered. So that's one really good part about the game. But also, one thing we didn't talk about was ball cam. From here, if we instantly go mid, we can't see if the other team is watching mid or not, right? So if we ask for a pass and the first man decides he can't solo play and he passes it and this guy intercepts it, that's on the second man. That's second man's fault, correct? So in that mindset, he's also become even more useless because he doesn't even know if it's a pass. Now, could he flick his camera? Sure, but if the third man's rotating back from here, he probably won't see if someone's watching mid, right? That's another issue. You have to have information. So how does supporting from behind fix all these issues? Well, 1, we're covering the 50, right? That's one option. 2, since our ball cam is facing the play, we can see if the midfield is open or not. If it is, we can go mid for a pass. If not, we can go right back in behind. So we're maximizing the individualism of the support player, right? We have someone behind, and he can also cover the pass. He's covering both options. And since we have a player covering both units of support, we have one player covering the ball. This now allows the third man, instead of covering just the 50, is now able to cover off-ball, wrong direction, is now able to cover off-ball pressure when he's in front of the ball. And eventually, where will he go? He will eventually go behind second man, close facing forward. But that's the basic idea. So now we know why we face forward, but we also now know why we support from behind, because from here, we can see more, so we're able to cover both the 50 and the pass. If the midfield is covered, then we don't even need to go mid. We just cover the 50-50. But if it is open, we go mid. But if our teammate still decides not to pass it, and we see he's not passing, we can still fill in behind, covering both options. So that's why when we look at Banana Head in this situation, where's Banana Head going to fill in? He's going to go, so Scrub's first man. So Banana Head is going to fill in behind Scrub, depending on where the ball is. So there we go. And the last part of supporting we talked about is supporting close. Well, I'm going to give you guys more of an analogy. I'm sure you guys have played sports, or at least heard of sports, at least understand the basic concept. One sport that's really good for this is basketball. If you're playing basketball, for example, and someone throws the ball at you, are you going to lock your arms out in front of you and then try to catch the ball with your hands? Or are you going to catch it with your hands as you're bringing it closer to your body? You're going to bring it closer to your body. Now imagine you're holding a baby, for example. Are you going to hold the baby with your arms locked out in front of you with the baby in your hands? Or are you going to bring the baby close to your body so you can cradle them and support them? You're going to keep them both close, and you're going to keep them close in both situations, right? That's the main idea. When you're supporting, you keep it close. And the same thing is the same principle in Rocket League. If you're far away from your teammate, you can't actually support them, right? Now, technically, could you catch a basketball with your arms locked out in front of you? Yes, you technically could. Could you hold a baby with your arms locked out in front of you? Yes, you could. Could you support your teammate from far away in Rocket League? Yes, you could. But in all three situations, well, at least for the baby, it's unsafe. But two, in all situations, it's easier if you're closer. Secondly, it's more efficient since you're closer to the play. And three, you're just overall, it's quicker. It's quicker, it's more efficient, and at least for the baby, it's safer, right? So whenever you're supporting, we have now, ooh, what am I doing? I'm just going to click this again. There we go. So that's why when we're supporting, we want to be close, we want to be behind, and we want to be facing forward. Hopefully that all makes sense. So that's what Banana Head's going to do. So Hunter should be applying off-ball pressure. Scrub's going to fill in ball guy. And Banana Head's going to fill in support. And where does support go? He goes in close, behind, facing forward, behind the ball guy. Now, I believe what ends up happening here is the ball does get cleared out by Sour. But even in this situation, so Hunter momentarily fills in first. But here we go. This is what's going to happen now. So, since the ball's now been cleared over Hunter, Scrub's going to fill in first. Banana Head's going to fill in second for Scrub, and then Hunter should turn upfield to apply off-ball pressure. I think what ends up happening here is Hunter kind of just rotates out thinking that he can't go for any bumps or boost steals, which is fine, but he's not really maximizing his opportunities, so that does become an issue. But here we go. But hopefully, Gator, if you're still here, hopefully that all makes sense to you. But Red Snow, welcome to the stream, homie. How you doing? Here we go. Let's see what happens here. All right. So I think we noticed an individual mistake from a couple players here. Let's see. So Banana Head, he... Okay, so this is a... I think Banana Head kind of rushes into the play here. I think this is part of KCP's playstyle. They love to make sure there's a first man on the ball at all times. So Scrub passes it to Hunter, but Hunter doesn't turn for this, right? So essentially, Banana Head wants to flip up field to do that. But in doing so, Potato's going to get to that ball the entire time. So essentially, Banana Head was kind of useless here. So it's kind of an issue of reading the play here. I do think this is just a one-time issue from Banana Head, but here we go. Doing great. How about yourself? Doing great. How about yourself? I'm doing pretty well. Thank you, Red Snow. Been enjoying analyzing all these teams here. Got a good book of notes on Team Liquid, G2, Falcons, Crew, and then now we're going over KCP. So here we go. We talked about how KCP, their structure is very, very solid. But in unorthodox situations, we're seeing that their adaptability for rotations is a little bit lackluster at the moment. So that's something we're going to have to keep in mind about these players. But at least the structure is very solid. When we look at KCP, they support basic, they support from behind, facing forward. They have someone on the ball, they have someone supporting, and there's someone applying up pressure. And once he's done applying up pressure, they rotate out behind, continuing to build on that structure. So the structure of KCP, honestly, really, really solid. Definitely way better than Crew's structure from what we looked at yesterday. Still not as good as G2 or a Falcons, but still very, very solid. But what we are noticing is there's some tendencies with these players that might be causing issues. Right here, Banana Head, I can tell this ball is about to get cleared no matter what, and he's still rushing upfield, so that does become a mistake. And right here, let's see about Hunter. So of course he didn't apply off-ball pressure, but so here Hunter again reacts to the play. and he ends up getting completely dusted with this ball. I bet if we look at this from Sour's POV, right here, looking at it from Sour's POV, he is turning to face Potato's hit as early as possible. He's reading exactly where that ball is going. It looks like he overturned it a little bit, but since he was turning and going towards the play while Potato was going for it, he ended up beating Hunter because he was reading where the ball was going. Now, if we look at Hunter, just as we saw earlier, since he ends up reacting to where the ball is being hit, he ends up being just that much slower to the play. And Red Snow, I'm sure you remember, you were one of the main people who brought this to my attention. Gregan talks about turning to face the play as it's happening. As you're reading the play, you want to turn to face it as the ball's being hit. So the instant the ball's hit, that's the time you're facing that direction with momentum and everything like that. And we see Hunter, he didn't turn to face the play as it's happening. We can see he's definitely playing reactionary, and that's how he ends up getting dunked. And of course, we talked about Banana Head. He's just put himself in a bad position here, just because that tendency of just first man wants to be close to the play. Like, him going upfield there is kind of necessary, and that turn as well. This turn here from Manhead's not horrible. I don't like him jumping for this ball, but he probably thinks that Hunter's getting dusted here, and that's why he goes. But Scrub ends up recovering and filling in that spot really well. Here we go. Banana Head taking possession. Gets the ball around one. Tries to get the ball around the second. And Scrub with a great attempt anyway. Because we can look at this here from Scrub. So Scrub is supporting behind Banana Head initially here. But then once he recognizes that, because right here he sees all three players on the Spurkies completely not covering the middle. So that's why he goes middle here. He gets the touch from Banana Head and he puts a shot with a lot of power. The accuracy a little bit bad there. And that's something you'll notice from Scrub. I've watched a lot of replays from Scrub as well. Shooting accuracy tends to not be accurate. This is caused by rushing his shots. Because honestly, Scrub is normally in the right position. He normally just ends up missing. So I think it's more he rushes the shot itself. But let's keep looking at KCP here. So look at this here from Scrub. So technically we're on defense right now. So Scrub goes to cover the middle, that off-ball pressure guy. If you look at it from the air, you always want someone supporting the ball guy, someone on the ball, and someone watching mid when you're on the defensive end. That's how we have the off-ball pressure, support, and ball guy all covered. That's why Scrub ends up going mid here. And if we let this play go, we see Scrub goes to fill in ball guy. He ends up messing up, but here we go. So let's see what happens here. Okay. So I think what happened here is Hunter is on low boost. Let's triple check just to make sure. Or he's not on low boost. Okay. He's on 100 boost. Banana Head cuts him. And then Scrub goes to fill in second. Okay, so Hunter kind of ends up in a really awkward situation here. Because he ends up not going up to support the field right away. What I would have much preferred from KCP here is, and this is where you see the structure, the idea of the structure in KCP is good, but sometimes you see, honestly, actually, never mind. Right here, Scrub can fill in second quicker, so he ends up filling in second. But for example, if you're a lower ranked team and you're not used to the structure of high-level Rocket League yet, having somebody go from where Scrub was covering to filling in second and Hunter filling in behind him can seem a little bit confusing at times, but if we break it down, we still have a ball guy, we have someone filling in a support guy, and we have someone filling in as the third man. Of course, if he was upfield, he'd be applying off-ball pressure, but just as if someone off-ball pressure, he doesn't stay upfield forever, right? He eventually rotates out behind his teammate. That's essentially what we're seeing here. We have first man, second man, and third man all in a line. Now, maybe in terms of cleanliness, it would have looked nicer for Hunter to go here and Scrub to fill in behind. But in terms of quickness, it's okay for Scrub to fill in second since Hunter is still way out of the play. So hopefully that all still makes sense to you. We have all three areas covered here. As we can see right here, what ends up happening is Scrub's initially covering mid since he has a ball guy and a support guy. But since he sees Hunter's most likely getting bumped or staying out of the play, he goes to fill in second. He recognizes the midfield's open. He goes to fill in support. Now let's see what they end up doing here. Scrub ends up forcing that play. Look at this read here from Banana Head. Like, this is why Banana Head is such a good player. Look at this right here. He ends up reading where that ball's going, turns, gets the possession, stays on the ball, super, super mechanical. So that's a strength that you can actually put for KCP. Rotationally, very solid structure. Mechanically, very solid on the ball. And then, so there we go. So, like, these are two very big strengths for them. But for their weaknesses, their adaptability tends to be, in unorthodox, seem to be lackluster. They also, we've seen, they fill into the rotation less efficiently than they could. But as you can see, these aren't really, like, huge weaknesses that KCP have. But you will say, even though on the ball they're very solid, you'll see when it comes, and we've already seen from a couple challenges, individually, when challenging the ball, they tend to either go too early, or they go when it is not threatening, too early, or they force low instead of high. Now, we have talked about why you should force high in Rocket League a lot on this stream already. But the main principle about forcing high is it makes it way easier for your second man who's covering net to read, right? Now, imagine the ball's being air dribbled here in the midfield. If you force them high, they're going in one direction the entire time, right? That's easy for your second man to read. Whereas if you force low, you go above them, that means they're going up, and then they're going down, and if they get a reset or an air dribble, they can go up again, or they can fake it again. A lot of difficult things for your second man to read, so that's why you want to force high. But also, you want to make sure you force high only when it becomes threatening. Because what happens if you force high in the midfield? They're just able to get it over you, and then they're able to maintain possession, and then they're able to put a shot on target still, right? So if you go too early when forcing, you can still find some massive issues. So that's why when you want to make sure you're forcing high, and you're only going when it's threatening. You'll notice that KCP tend to go when it's not threatening sometimes, and good teams are able to get that ball over. So that's something we're going to be looking. But at the same time, KCP are also really good at pre-jumps. So it's kind of like a weird balance to where if you have two teammates behind you and you feel like you can pre-jump and you are 100% confident in it, I'm fine with that. But if you are not, if there's only one person behind you, then if there's only one person behind you and you go when it's not threatening, they're just able to get it over you and it's still a threatening shot. You didn't force anything on that play, right? So that's why you want to force high when it becomes threatening. Right? So force high when it becomes threatening. That's how you want to challenge the ball as that first man. And that's something we talk about here with KCP. They tend to go when it's either too early, right? So they're when it's not threatening, or they force low instead of high, which we just talked about is a very important part of Rocket League. But compared to Crew, KCP actually are a very, very solid team. Now, in terms of offensive chances, I think people would say mechanically, Crew is slightly better than KCP, but it's very, very minimal mechanical difference there. But when we look at KCP rotationally, they are filling in the structure a lot better. They have two players that are reading the play a lot better. Oh my goodness, look at this here from Banana Head. Banana here, he's supporting Scrub. Scrub fakes it, and then he just slots it bottom left. Great read here from KCP. But I think we've gotten a good idea of the mistakes of these players. So I'm just gonna, every few seconds, unless I notice something really big, I'm probably going to, we're just gonna keep moving here. So we see here again, we see Scrub goes from second to third. It's not the end of the world, right? Because Hunter will be second, Banana's first, and Scrub will be filling in third. As you see, it's not the cleanest way of doing things, and you can definitely see that since JG7's joined the team, KCP definitely look a lot more confident as a team compared to the fall major. But at the same time, we're still seeing, and the stuff that we're noticing from KCP, because I analyzed KCP last season as well, they had very similar issues that we're seeing right now. So even though they're looking more confident, a lot of their mistakes are still prevalent here. As we can see, Banana Head and Scrub, they're reading the play really well. But I think what we'll notice, especially as this replay goes on, is Scrub and Banana Head, I think you'll see a lot more rotational mistakes, I think. Because I do want to go to Hunter, though, just to see if it is just fully a team issue. Because we've seen Scrub and Banana Head rush up field when they should continue to play support. Let's see. Hunter taking possession. That is a giveaway possession. He's on 0 boost, so it's not the end of the world, but it is still a giveaway possession at the end of the day. Let's see how he keeps possession here. Great stuff through the air. I don't know why Banana Head's in the air there. Maybe he called for a fake. I do want to see this from Banana Head's POV, actually. Sorry for pausing. Yeah. Not... I think it's also... They're also playing against the Spurkies, so maybe they're also playing a lot more confident than they would against a Ground Zero team. Here we go. Actually, Banana Head just demonstrated trying to force high. But I think he just messed up. So here we go. Oh, it looked like he should have gotten the ball, but he ends up getting the car instead. And ends up being... That's why it ends up going to the back net. So this was almost a really good... Yeah, he just... Look, he actually was going for the ball. But since he touched Lurky's car, it put him away from the ball. Yeah, look. And then the ball just keeps floating towards the net. So sad for Banana Head. That's just I mean, of course he could have just avoided the car entirely. So maybe you could say, you know, just get better at avoiding it. But still, unlucky for Banana Head. But I think we've really illustrated, like, I think the one thing you'll notice about the OCE region is OCE's been around for a very long time. And you'll notice something about the top teams. The top teams in OCE are very, very consistent. And part of the reason due to that is when you look at the structure of the rotations, they're really, really solid. And of course, normally the top teams in OCE are also the most mechanical. But the rest of the region has started to improve their mechanics in a really great way. So now we're starting to see the reason why... We're starting to see rotationally why OCE are so consistent. So technically, this is again a situation where Hunter wanted to fill in first and Banana Head filled in second. So I think it's more of a Banana Head and Scrub thing, cutting rotation, rather than a Hunter thing. I do want to continue to see Hunter. Let's see. Hunter's third man here. He's watching mid. Like, we haven't really seen Hunter cut to fill in first or anything like that. Ooh, that's a really good shot from the Spurkies. Lurky's also one of those players that's been known as very mechanical for a very long time in OCE. Grow wings and rise from the ashes. Here we go. But yeah, so far Hunter has been looking really solid. I think his main individual issue is actually reading the play. Whereas I feel like Banana Head and Scrub's issue is they're reading the play really well. But in reading the play, they're kind of rushing it. They're thinking they need to cut into situations where they don't. Here we go. Hunter with a great possession here. Flicks the ball over. Taking possession. Ends up not being able to get the 50, but that's fine. Then he rotates out. Also, that's fine as well. Here we go. Now he's going to get the ball. Let's see what he does here. So here he doesn't recognize where the space is. Technically, if we look at this from a side angle, we can see where the space is. Where is the space? But right now, the space is not in the backboard. The backboard's covered. The net is also covered. So what I would love to see from Hunter here is utilize the space right in front of him. He ends up going for a double tap when that space is covered. Where's the space? Well, the ground's covered by Sour, so the space is like right in front of him in the air. So I would love to see him go for like maybe a soft touch and then go for a reset to utilize that space. But then it's not the end of the world. It's not like he's still at least trying to keep possession. Here we go. Hunter rotates through, looking for that. Yeah, honestly, when it comes to the adaptability of rotations, outside the misread individually from Hunter, I think rotation-wise, Hunter's one of the better players on KCP, which is something you probably wouldn't expect. Great shot. Great possession as well from Hunter. Look at this. Banana Head's going for that demo. And there we go. So I think we can definitely illustrate the strengths. Rotationally, very solid, very mechanical. Okay, so here we go. The structure / concept of rotation is very solid. On the ball, so on offense, I should say, on offense, the mechanics for KCP for the team are insane. But when we look at their rotations, their adaptability to unorthodox situations becomes adapted, and I think this is more of an idea towards Scrub / Banana. And then individually, when challenging the ball, they tend to either go when it's not, or yeah. So I think we've got a good thing here. So I'm gonna put for Banana Head, cuts into the play unnecessarily, slowing down his teammates. And I think Scrub has the same issue here. Now, luckily, if the whole team's doing it, it's not the biggest of issues. But as we can see, Hunter is rotating fully properly, whereas Banana Head and Scrub kind of cut in for no reason. We can see here. Rushes a lot of plays. Shooting accuracy tends to not be as accurate. This is caused by rushing his shots. Gets into the play unnecessarily, slowing down his teammates, which could also be caused by his rushing of the play. And then for Banana Head, cuts into the play unnecessarily, slowing down his teammates. But that's the only issue I've seen so far, Banana Head. And for Hunter, he tends to react to where the ball's going instead of reading where the ball is going. That's something we do want to keep in mind. And then for the strengths, as a team, they really mix up what they're doing, and then they mix up. Great mix-up on offense of team and individual plays. So when it comes to offense, I would honestly say Pioneers are better than a team like Falcons. But when it comes to the adaptability part, which is the majority of defense, then you would say Falcons has them on defense. And Falcons aren't that bad themselves on offense. They're just kind of readable. But if KCP's defense isn't as solid anyway, then of course Falcons should be beating a team like Pioneers. Hello, Kilo. Welcome to the stream. We're looking at KCP right now. This is the first replay. And normally the first replay is the longest because we're trying to find out what are the biggest issues that KCP have. But right now, they're honestly a really good team. I think, unlike, I was kind of confused with how poorly Crew is playing when we were looking at them. I didn't realize like how poor a lot of the issues Crew had. What the? Potato pinches that, and then Scrub just... I think this is a misread from Scrub. He's been good at reading the play for the most part. Oh, I mean, I know that's unexpected, but at the pro level, you got to be reading. Like, right here, you know what Potato's doing. He's hitting that ball forward. I guess it had more speed than he thought, but at the end of the day, it is just a misread. Yo, Kyler, welcome to the stream. Long time no see. Kilo, how are we doing as well? Welcome, welcome, welcome. And by the way, everybody, I will be going back to my normal stream time for the deep dive analysis. I'll be going back to 4 EST tomorrow. But Thursday, since I have class again, it'll be again at 6 EST. So just to give y'all a concept of that. So only Tuesdays and Thursdays will be starting at 6. But Sunday through Saturday, outside Tuesdays and Thursdays, will be starting at 4 p.m. EST. Here we go, KCP. We can definitely see that they ended up losing this game off of just... honestly, the other team played really well. Spurkies played really well in this game. And, of course, KCP, since they don't have a lot of the adaptability concepts perfectly down, it does explain why they might get scored on sometimes from occasion. But kind of like we talked about from Ahmad, and Ahmad's issues with not reading the play, and how Ahmad ends up being one of the reasons why some of the balls go into the back of his net, I can definitely see if Hunter doesn't focus on improving his ability to read the play, if he ends up being on defense, he could be the reason why some goals go in. Luckily for him, though, Banana Head and Scrub send team to be really good at reading the play. So maybe they can fill in the rotation should Hunter mess up. But there we go. That was a really solid first game. And I think what now we're going to do, we're going to go into one quarterfinal match versus Merge. We can probably just look at Game 7 for this one. Playoffs. Then quarterfinals. Why is it showing the individual games? Oh my, okay. Here we go. KCP versus Merge. Let's see if the stats improve. We talked about how Banana Head and Scrubs average boost was very low in that last game. But let's look here for looking at let's look at demos, excuse me. Here we go. They definitely picked up on the demos. That was another part of their game. They were just missing a lot of demos and not avoiding them. But in this game, they were avoiding demos and they were getting demos. And well, never mind. They only demoed Gus. So, oh my, this actually looks really weird seeing all these zeros. But they demoed Gus. Looking at the boost, we see average boost wise. Again, we see Hunter and Banana Head. Actually, here it's actually better. Okay, so honestly, I will say compared to the last replay, this is definitely better. It's an improvement. And then looking at speed, Banana Head, of course, very, very fast. All these players are really fast. They're as fast as other pros for the most part. 1751. This is insanely fast compared to other players. And then percent on the ground, normally you can tell. So Banana Head's actually not on the ground a lot, but he's still on the ground more than some other players. And if you guys don't know, normally, so if we look at KCP, they're probably on the ground because they're actively reading the play, and they're doing well with it. But for example, just because we saw no demos from Merge, for example, and really high ground sets, and sometimes high ground sets can mean you're hesitating to fly for the ball. But normally what it means is you're waiting for the right time to go rather than jumping for every little ball. So there is that fine line, but of course we won't know until we look at the replay itself. But now that we actually have the issues that KCP for the most part are doing and their strengths, we can recognize them going throughout the rest of this. And I talked about it yesterday and the day before where first touch they talk about how Furia where they didn't really have replays against them, which is why at LAN it was really difficult for them to beat a team like Furia, is because they didn't have tape. Well, as we've shown throughout this deep dive analysis, we take one replay from a group stage and we see the biggest mistakes not just happen in the group stage but through the entire event. And that's why for me it's just like, you really only need one replay to see the major issues of a team. You really only need one replay to see the major issues of a team. And then like, it's not going to change. Like, just because you're playing against them, they're still going to have the same issues. Normally what happens on LAN is normally the weaknesses of teams get bigger, right? So when we're doing predictions for RLCS LANs, we shouldn't really look at the strengths unless the weaknesses are the same. So for example, if we compare Falcons versus G2, Falcons have an issue where team-wise they are very one-dimensional. They don't create anything outside of individual plays. And G2, they do a lot of team plays, but individually, mechanically, they're not as good as, say, Falcons. So, since their weaknesses are since they don't have a lot of weaknesses, it comes down to their strengths. Well, since both their strengths are rotationally, they are very, very solid. So they're even again. Weaknesses and strengths are very even, but there's one strength that G2 has that Falcons don't have. G2 are really good at making sure they're not one-dimensional on offense. They're really good at mixing in passes and solo plays, whereas Falcons are only good at solo plays and being safe. So that's why G2 would most likely narrowly beat Falcons in a series, or should beat Falcons in a series. But if we look at, say, Falcons or G2 versus Crew have a million weaknesses. So you're probably expecting Crew to lose to teams that are rotationally solid like Falcons and G2. But for example, if we compare Crew to Pioneers, Pioneers' weaknesses don't have a lot of weaknesses, and strengths, they don't have a lot of weaknesses. But the weaknesses they do have, defense-wise, are they don't adapt really well. And so, but when you look at their strengths-wise, KCP have a really solid structure, and mechanically on offense they're really good. But on Crew, mechanically on offense they're even better. Alright? So it's more Crew have a way better offense than KCP, but KCP have a lot less weaknesses. So KCP would probably narrowly beat Crew, but Crew could also maybe beat KCP. The only teams where you could probably see a team like Crew beat at this major would be teams like G1. G1 don't have a high floor or a high ceiling. They have a lot of weaknesses and not a lot of strengths. Like mechanically, Crew and G1 are probably on the same level, but Crew probably slightly edge out G1 on consistency for defense. So, but for example, the only other teams you could probably see Crew beat are maybe Team Secret because they're used to them, and then Dignitas would probably be another one of those teams. But outside those teams, you probably can't see Crew beating them. Maybe beating Vitality as well. Vitality have a low floor. But that's why we're writing out all the strengths and weaknesses, because we can even better compare how these teams will face off against each other. But look at this play here from Cabo. Cabo gets the beat over 1, and this is actually what we talked about. We just talked about a weakness from KCP is they sometimes challenge too early, or they force low instead of high. So here, Hunter forces high. I believe, actually, let me look back. I don't know why I just brain farted. There we go. So yeah, Hunter forces high, but since he forces high so early, they're still able to get the ball off of this. Now, it's a great play from Cabo, nevertheless, but now if we look at it from from Hunter's POV, look how early he forces high here. It's not really threatening here, right? Like, when he jumps, it's not threatening. That's a big concept that even some pros still have major issues with. Right here, it's not threatening right now, so there's no reason to jump. So he should have stayed grounded. And then right here, now that he's actually able to get a shot on target, that's when he should have forced high. And if he had done that while Cabo went for a bump, he would have actually just gotten a free possession for himself. So that's a really big example as to why you want to make sure you're forcing high, and you only want to force high once it becomes threatening. And I'm asking y'all a question: does it matter which players? Does who is behind the ball determine how threatening it is? No. It doesn't matter if you are playing against First Killer, Zen, or a Bronze. You still only want to force high when it becomes threatening, and it doesn't become more threatening because another player's on the ball. For example, if First Killer is air dribbling off the backboard versus a Bronze air dribbling off the backboard, in both these situations, it's not threatening. Now, First Killer might be able to get the ball to the other side of the pitch off his own backboard, and now it's threatening, right? Because now he's actually here, but it only becomes threatening once he's actually in a spot to score. Just because he's going off his own backboard as First Killer does not make it threatening. That's something that even some pros still have mistakes with, and as we can see, KCP actually have that issue. Great pass, though, from Scrub to Hunter, excuse me. Banana Head now going to try and hit this ball off the backboard. He made it awkward for the other team. Let's see what Scrub does here. So it looks like Banana Head cut him off. So again, unnecessary cuts from Banana Head. So I think just off of one replay, we have really found out the big issues that KCP have. And a lot of people are wondering, like, shouldn't you get a bigger sample size? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like, sure, like, that's why we're looking at more replays, right? But if anything, as we can tell, all looking at more replays is doing is cementing the issues we saw in the first group stage. And all progressing through a tournament will do is make the weaknesses bigger, right? Whereas if you're at a major, your issues tend to get even bigger than they were, say, in a grand finals. Like, the grand finals of a regional, unless you're trying to qualify for the major, let's say both teams have already qualified, the grand finals of a regional is not as, like, the nerves aren't as big as, say, you just playing at a major. That's why we can look at the group stage to determine the biggest issues a team has, and then the grand finals of a tournament will only show those issues being even bigger. And then if we see the teams at a major, the weaknesses only get even bigger after that. Here we go. Grade 50. Back to Scrub. Scrub trying to maintain possession. Now, Scrub, he has 0 boost, so you're probably wondering, why am I okay with Scrub rotating out here rather than going through? And there's something to keep in mind when you're trying to apply off-ball pressure in Rocket League. And we talked about flow, the rotation, earlier, but the flow is important because it keeps momentum. That's the reason why flow is necessary. Right here, Scrub, he has 0 boost and 0 momentum, right? So here, he's not going to really be able to be useful because he has 0 momentum and 0 boost. Now, if he had boost, he could hold boost and then apply off-ball pressure, right? Or if he had momentum, he could keep his momentum, even if he had 0 boost, and still go for demos and look for boost steals and everything like that. But since he has neither, that's why he rotates out here and lets Hunter fill in first and Banana Head fill in second. Overall, very important ideas to go through when it comes down to, say, Scrub rotating out there. But again, like we talked about, structure-wise, the structure of rotation for KCP, really, really solid. It's more the adaptability of KCP that you see tending to be a little bit more of an issue. And part of that is Hunter. Having issues with reading the play. And part of it's Banana Head and Scrub kind of cut into the play unnecessarily. They'll cut off a teammate just to be faster to the play, but in turn, they'll slow down the flow of their team. But I think JG7's honestly done a really good job helping out with the confidence of KCP. Because I'm going to be honest, KCP have been playing this style of rotation since last season. But even though they've been playing this style of rotation, they have looked nowhere near as confident than since JG7's joined the team. So honestly, really great job with JG7. He's putting in the work for this team, and I'm really happy he's made his first major as a coach. All right. Ooh, not the best to touch there, Banana Head. We're noticing Banana Head's a little bit nervous right now, and he's kind of booming away the ball. But when Banana Head's confident, he takes possession every day of the week. As we can see, Banana's kind of going a little bit too fast for his own good. And we saw this in the stats, right? Where we saw he was at 1751 speed, which if he was going that fast and playing really, really well, I mean, great to him. And he is playing okay. As we can see, he is rushing a lot of what he's doing. So maybe that's something we can put under Banana Head. When nervous, tends to rush possessive touches. And even more unnecessary cuts. There we go. So as you can see, we did learn at least one. We confirmed more what happens, because that's what reason you look at one replay, you're able to find all the issues the team has for the most part, and then you look at more replays just to confirm if it's a really big recurring issue, which, as we can tell, all the big issues we saw in the group stage are still here in this game 7 of the quarterfinals. And if we looked at other games as well, you'd see it there as well. But overall, KCP, really solid team. Definitely going to be cheering for them at the major. Because for me, if I were to, I just like watching good Rocket League. But for me, some of my favorite teams right now are Complexity, KCP, and Gen G. So for me, I want Oxygen to get knocked out of that group. Not because I don't like them, but just because I much more favor the other 3 teams. But even then, of course, KCP, they got a Banana Head. He tried, and honestly, KCP, the reason why you might know Scrub and Banana Head is they're really good at reading the play to the point where they can do pre-jump passes. So right here, this would have been, Scrub actually messed up his pass, and Caleb actually got a really good read. But that was a really all-in play, and Hunter had to really rush to keep it in. But since Hunter was able to keep it in, a couple more passing plays, and Hunter will put in the final goal. Look at this here from Hunter. Hunter pinches it in to keep it on offense. He was really making sure he tried to not get demo there. Scrub fills in first. He puts it off the corner. Banana Head fills in second. He reads it off the corner faster than Gus. Puts it off the backboard. And then Cabo doesn't read the play. So sad. Look at this here from Cabo. Cabo actually had a lot of boost. But instead of reading this ball is going off the backboard, he ends up just rushing in the net. And you're getting scored on every day of the week. You're probably wondering, like, really? Could he have read this? I mean, right here, we see Gus is flying past the ball, and Banana Head's hitting it towards the backboard. So right here, he should have been turning to face the backboard, and then repossession for Cabo. Sad times for Cabo. Cabo is a really good guy, but that's why they end up getting scored on. No semifinals for Merge Esports. So there we go, KCP. But I think we've honestly found the biggest issues from KCP. And I would look at this. There was a lot of overtimes, but honestly, I think you guys want to get to the good stuff. We'll look at Game 4, the Grand Finals, and then we'll look at Game 5 as well, the Grand Finals. Yeah, honestly, I wasn't expecting this stream to be as long as some of the other ones, just because it is a minor region team. Or, honestly, I don't really like the term minor region. I really like the term emerging regions. I definitely like, I think, was it Corelli or Johnny Boy who coined the term? Some commentator coined the term. I remember watching their stream. I don't know why I'm blanking on who exactly did it. Because I remember both these people used it on their stream before, but I think Johnny Boy came up with it. I remember him talking about it, I think. Or no, Yummy Cheese Man talked about it, I think, on Johnny Boy's stream. I think that's what it was. Or on his own stream. I think, okay. I'm completely blanking. You know what? Never mind. I'm just gonna shut up. But I think it was Yummy Cheese Man on his own stream, and the conversation carried over to a Johnny Boy stream later that week, I think. Let's look at stats again. Look at the demos. Hopefully the demos have picked up on both sides. Both sides are going for demos. All right, great job. So KCP continue to pick up on the demos. Look at the boost, the average boost. Whoa. Okay, this is really low. I am really nervous in terms of teams that are way better at grabbing boosts. So I will put down for KCP, since this has happened on all 3 replays. Weaknesses. Average boost is low compared to other pro teams in other regions. Could be caused due to rushing in Banana Head case. Here we go. Percentage on the looking at the speed. I expect Banana Head to be fast again. Yep, Banana Head's still relatively fast, but this is a lot more normal, I think. So I think Banana Head slowed down. Hopefully JG7 really helped him out. But the thing is about KCP's issues and everything right now is KCP, like for JG7 as a coach, he actually has probably some of the easier. He has probably one of the easier jobs than some coaches. He doesn't have to tell his teammates. He has to help Hunter a little bit with learning how to read the play rather than react to the play. But outside learning how to read the play versus react the play, all he has to do is just get his players to slow down, not rush the play as much, and they're golden, because literally a lot of their issues are, only issues they have individually are sometimes they rush at the wrong time, which once you understand the concept, it's easy to practice. And then for Hunter, you have to learn how to read the play versus react the play, which does take some time to improve. But since Banana Head and Scrub are already so good at reading the play, like Hunter can just work on it while improving as a team. And then rotationally, their issues are even easier to solve. Oh my goodness, look at this here from Hunter. Possession. There we go. He fills it. He's supporting second from behind. And then he fakes it. 50. Oh my. The mechanics on this man. For those of y'all who say OC doesn't have mechs, you guys are false. Let's see how this game continues, though. But I'm honestly expecting to see the same issues no matter what here. Yeah, honestly, not expecting to have to pause this game at all again. I mean, that's a great initial save from Banana Head. What even happened here? Oh, Banana Head just got dusted to the ball. He thought he had the read on Super Lucky, so that's more of an individual mistake. Bad read on the challenge. And then Scrub got a really weird touch. I think there was a misread on defense there as well. But thanks to everyone who's shown up to the stream. It's been a pleasure doing all these streams for you guys over the years. There we go. Looking at this goal. Scrub ends up getting beat to that ball. As we can see, Scrub's reading the play here, but we can tell that Ground Zero are just slightly better at reading the play. That's why they're so fast. Like, mechanically, a bronze that can fast aerial is still fast as a pro that can fast aerial. It's just when they do it, when they recognize they need to do it. And the best way to do that is, of course, reading the play better than your opponents. But thank you to everybody who's been following and supporting me over the last couple of the last week, I should say now, as we're approaching the first full week done. And it's been a pleasure. And I think what we decided that tomorrow we're going to be going over Dignitas, and then the day after we'll be going over G1. We're going to be going over the 2 5th seeds from NA and EU. And then we'll probably go over one more. We'll probably go over the 4th seeds for NA and EU after that. And then we'll add back in the 1st seed OCE and the 2nd seed SAM, because we wanted to make sure that we have a good mix-up. We do have Gladiators as well still to do, but I wanted to say them a little bit later down the line. We don't want to just get APAC out of the way. We did kind of get Mina out of the way, but I think it's good that we put Mina at the beginning and then Gladiators more towards the end. A little bit of a misread there from Hunter. Could have been a way better shot attempt. But yeah, overall, I think we've finally illustrated through our deep dive analysis the strengths and the weaknesses of the players and team of KCP. Here we go, possession from Hunter. We can see he's panicking even less than Drufinho yesterday, and Drufinho is known as being one of the more mechanical players on Crew Esports. Like, honestly, for me, it just looks on defense, for goaltending, Crew are slightly better, but in terms of reading the play, they're worse. So the rotations on Crew make it way difficult for them. So for me, KCP should narrowly beat Crew in a match. But for example, Crew, they could still beat teams like G1, Dignitas, maybe even Vitality, because those teams' floors are a lot smaller, excuse me. Luke, you're my favorite Rocket League coach. Thank you so much, Wolfie. You're one of my favorite viewers, bro. Here we go. Banana Head. Back to Hunter. Good 50. His teammates don't overcommit. I do look at this, though. Look at this from right here. Scrub recognizes he's getting beat. So, the idea is Hunter will continue forward for off-ball pressure. Banana Head will fill in first. And Scrub will fill in second, for the most part. So there we go. This is a really clean adaptive rotation. So not all adaptive parts of KCP's rotation are poor. Because the main reason why you want Scrub rotating out there as Hunter's being off-ball pressure is because you want Hunter to keep applying off-ball pressure, but if Scrub goes upfield to apply off-ball pressure after getting beat, then you have 2 players doing it, or you might force Hunter to rush out early, so we won't have off-ball pressure for a couple seconds. Ew, that's a bad miss. But yeah, overall, solid stuff from KCP, or PioneersGG. Empty net. There we go. We'll skip forward here to a little bit before this goal, just to see how things have changed. Here we go. Hunter fills in second. He gets a possession here. I don't like the pinch. And it looks like that pinch was the start of the giveaway possession that leads to the goal. Fiber in the air. Gets the beat. Gets the bump. Fantastic goal. Yeah, Hunter ends up not... It looks like it's, again, Banana Head. Forcing when it's not threatening. Granted, he's on low boost. I understand Banana Head's on low boost here, but... Yep, force when it's not really threatening. And no one was able to cover the net. Sad stuff. As you can see, since Banana Head did end up having a bad force, that forces Hunter to believe he needs to force / go for the ball. But it looks like Scrub, I think, was demoed. So he wasn't able to fill in for Hunter's force, right? Yeah, sad stuff there. But I think we figure out what KCP's issues are. After the stream, I'll clean up these notes. But for the most part, weaknesses, they do have slightly more weaknesses than Falcons or G2. They have, and slightly, like maybe like 1 sentence longer than Team Liquid. But they have way less weaknesses than a team like Crew. But Crew mechanically are also really good, which might be able to make up for a little bit of these weaknesses, right? So that's why Pioneers versus Crew would be close, but at least by what it looks like right now, Pioneers should win, at least if they're able to maintain their confidence. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody who showed up to the stream. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great time doing all these streams. Thank you, of course, to the recent follows. Thank you to Gator, Seal, and Spring Tingling for the recent follows. You guys are all goats. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to be going over Team Dignitas. So make sure to show up for that, back to 4 p.m. EST. And yeah, hope you guys all have a great rest of your night. Peace.